A week before my daughter's wedding, one of my oldest customers placed a gold card beside the register and said, "I hope this gets Madison closer to your promise." I had never seen the card. It carried my photograph, my bookstore logo, and a donation link. Under my face, a green bar said I had promised $40,000. The bar was almost full. Hundreds of people had been told I was struggling to keep my word. My daughter had turned my name into a public debt, and she expected me to sign the final sponsor papers that afternoon. What she did not know was that I had already traced every link back to the customer list she had no right to use. Before I tell you what happened in that meeting, think about this. When does helping your child stop being love and start becoming permission? Tell me where you would have drawn the line. My name is Rachel Foster. I was 39 when this happened, and I owned a small bookstore in Fort Collins, Colorado. The store was called Juniper Books. It had creaky oak floors, a green front door, and a brass bell that rang too loudly in winter. I had worked there since I was 19. At first, I unpacked boxes and made coffee for the owner. Later, I managed events, ordered inventory, and learned which customers wanted mysteries before they asked. When the owner retired, I bought the business with a loan and every dollar I had saved. My daughter, Madison, grew up between those shelves. I had her when I was 18. Her father, Drew, left before her second birthday and moved to Arizona soon after. He sent cards, missed visits, and became a voice that appeared on holidays. For most of Madison's childhood, it was just the two of us. I packed lunches before opening the store. She did homework behind the register. When money was tight, we ate soup in the stockroom and called it a picnic. I worked hard to keep worry out of her childhood. That choice became a habit. I did not tell her when the electric bill was late. I did not tell her when I skipped a dentist appointment so she could join a school trip. I wanted her to feel secure. I never saw how easily security could become the belief that someone else would always absorb the cost. Madison was bright, social, and quick with people. She could walk into a room and make strangers feel included. She also hated being embarrassed. Even as a child, she would hide a bad grade rather than ask for help. She would rather invent a smooth story than admit something had gone wrong. I knew that about her. I treated it like a tender spot instead of a warning. When she forgot a deadline, I called the teacher. When she overspent her first debit card, I covered the fee. When she quit a college job without a plan, I paid 2 months of rent and called it a bridge. Each rescue had a reason. Each one felt temporary. Together, they taught us both the same dangerous lesson. Madison could make a mess, and I would quietly remove the evidence. She met Noah Bennett during her last year of college. He was calm, practical, and a little shy. He worked for a landscape company and loved old maps. The first time he came to dinner, he helped me carry boxes upstairs without being asked. They announced it at Juniper on a Sunday evening. We closed early and set out cake near the travel section. Madison wore a white sweater and kept lifting her hand so the stone caught the light. Noah stood beside her with the stunned smile of a man who still could not believe she had said yes. I hugged them both. Then I gave them the promise I had planned for years. I would buy Madison's dress, host a small rehearsal dinner, and help with food for a simple reception. I said it clearly. I also said Juniper could not carry wedding debt. Madison smiled and squeezed my hands. "Mom, I am not asking you to bankroll anything." Noah nodded. "We want something warm, not huge." I believed them. I wanted to believe them. That made the words feel settled when they were only the first version of the plan. The first change came 3 weeks later. Madison showed me photographs of a glass-roofed venue outside town. It had mountain views, stone fireplaces, and a bridal room larger than my apartment. The price was far beyond what they had discussed. She said the venue had one open date in the fall. She said the deposit had to be paid by Friday. She said Noah's parents might help later, but they needed time. I reminded her of my offer. Dress, rehearsal dinner, and part of the food, nothing more. Madison did not argue. She just looked down at the photographs and said, "I know, I was only showing you." 2 days later, she booked the venue. I learned about it from Noah. He called to thank me for helping them make it happen. His words were warm and confused. I asked what he meant. "The family contribution," he said. "Madison said you wanted us to secure the date." I felt the first small shift under my feet. I told him I had not paid a venue deposit. He went quiet. Then he said Madison had used a credit card and planned to move things around when my money arrived. That evening, I asked Madison to meet me at the store. She arrived after closing with a coffee for me and a tired smile. She always brought something small when she knew a hard conversation was coming. I placed the venue photographs on the counter. Why did Noah think I approved this? He misunderstood. He repeated the phrase family contribution. Madison pulled off her gloves. "I said you were helping. You are helping." "Not with that venue." Her face tightened. "We can afford it once everything comes together." I asked what everything meant. She talked about Noah's parents, extra work, wedding gifts, and small sponsorships from local businesses. The words moved quickly. None of them formed a budget. I told her to cancel while the deposit was still partly refundable. She stared at me as if I had suggested canceling the marriage. "You always say family memories matter," she said. "They do. That does not make every price reasonable." She left angry. I stayed behind the counter and looked at the green door long after it closed. I knew she had heard my limit. I also knew she had decided it was a problem to solve, not a boundary to respect. A month later, Madison asked to use the bookstore mailing list for digital save-the-dates. She called it a harmless shortcut. Juniper had thousands of customer emails from online orders, book clubs, and event signups. I said no at once. Those addresses belonged to the business. People had trusted us with them for store news, not family invitations. I offered to give her my personal contact list instead. She laughed lightly. "Mom, nobody is going to complain about a wedding." I would complain. That ended the conversation, or so I thought. Madison had worked summers at Juniper during college. She once had access to our event account and customer platform. I had never imagined that an old login could become a door she still believed was hers. We found a dress at a small shop in Denver. It was simple satin with a square neckline. When Madison stepped onto the platform, she looked both older and exactly like the child who once wore a towel as a veil. She caught my eye in the mirror. "This is the one." I paid for it. That part of my promise felt joyful. On the drive home, we sang with the radio and stopped for fries. For one afternoon, I thought we had returned to ourselves. Then a customer named Evelyn Hart placed the gold card beside my register. Evelyn had taught Madison in middle school. She was retired now and came to Juniper every Thursday. She bought one paperback, one pastry from the cafe next door, and always asked about my daughter. The card showed a photograph from the engagement party. Madison and Noah stood beneath the Juniper sign. My own face appeared in a smaller circle below them. Under it were the words, "Help Rachel keep her promise." I read the line twice. Then I saw the green progress bar. Evelyn touched my wrist. "I know weddings are expensive. I hope my little gift helps." My mouth went dry. "What gift?" She looked surprised. "The donation link Madison sent. She said your friends could help you give her the wedding you promised." I asked how much she had given. Evelyn hesitated, then said $600. She lived on a teacher's pension. I knew she had postponed replacing her furnace the winter before. I turned the card over. The bookstore logo sat above a square code. Beneath it, in smaller print, the page said Juniper Books was the community sponsor for Madison and Noah's wedding. I had authorized none of it. I thanked Evelyn and asked her not to donate anything else. Then I locked the front door, though it was still business hours. My employee Elise watched me from the information desk. "Rachel, what happened?" I handed her the card. She read it, looked at me, and said one word. "Madison." I opened the link on my phone. the page loaded with soft music and photographs of my daughter. The green bar showed more than $30,000 collected toward the $40,000 promise. My name appeared 11 times. The bookstore appeared 7. The story said I had spent my life sacrificing for Madison and had dreamed of giving her a beautiful wedding. It said rising business costs had made it hard for me to fulfill that dream. The final paragraph asked my community to stand beside me. It ended with a sentence that made my hands shake. Rachel has never let her daughter down. Let's make sure she does not have to start now. That was not a request for help. It was a trap built from my reputation. I called Madison. She answered on the 4th ring with music in the background. "Hey, Mom. Can I call you later?" "No, you can tell me why my customers are funding a promise I never made." The music stopped. There was a pause, then a door closing. It was supposed to be a soft launch. "You used my photograph." I was going to ask. "You used my business." "It is only a logo. You used the customer list." She did not answer that part. Instead, she said people wanted to help. She said everyone loved a wedding. She said the page was already doing well, as if success erased permission. I told her to take it down before the end of the day. I told her to refund every donation. I told her not to contact another Juniper customer. Madison's voice changed. The warmth disappeared. "You are really going to humiliate me over this." I looked at the gold card in my hand. "You put my face on a debt and sent it to people who trust me." I told the truth. "You did spend your life saying you wanted to give me everything." I said I wanted to give you security. "I did not promise you $40,000. She breathed hard into the phone. Then she said the sentence that stayed with me. "You made people believe you would always show up for me. I just gave them a way to help you do it." I ended the call, not because I had nothing to say. I ended it because every answer in my head sounded like a scream. By closing time, the page was gone from my phone. I searched the title and found nothing. Madison texted one line. "Removed. Happy now?" I wanted to believe the crisis was over. That was my first mistake. The next morning, a florist called Juniper and asked for the billing contact for Madison's wedding. I told her she had the wrong number. She read my business address back to me. Then she thanked Juniper Books for guaranteeing the floral package. I sat down behind the register. "What guarantee?" The florist explained that Madison had submitted a sponsor form. It listed my store as the paying partner if the donation campaign fell short. A typed signature appeared beneath my name. I asked her to email me a copy. The page arrived before we hung up. My name looked almost right. The capital letters matched the signature I used on store gift certificates. The last stroke did not. Madison had copied an old image and placed it on a new form. The document was not elegant. It did not need to be. It looked official enough for a busy vendor who believed a local business was supporting a local wedding. I called Madison again. This time she answered quickly. "You said the page was removed," I said. "It is." A florist has a sponsor form with my signature. That is separate. The calm way she said it frightened me more than anger would have. I asked how many vendors had forms like that. Madison said she did not know. Then she changed it to 2. Then she admitted there might be 4. "You cannot sign my name." I did not sign it. I attached the signature image. "That is the same thing?" "No, it is not. It is a placeholder until you sign the final copy." She kept choosing softer words. The campaign was a soft launch. The false signature was a placeholder. The customer list was community outreach. Every wrong act became harmless when she renamed it. I told her all vendor forms had to be withdrawn that day. She said she was at work. I said she had made time to send them. Then she cried. Madison rarely cried during conflict. She usually became sharp and controlled. Hearing her voice break pulled me back into an old role before I could stop it. She said the florist would keep the deposit if the package was canceled. She said the venue had added fees. She said Noah's parents had offered less than expected. She said she had been trying to protect everyone from stress. I should have held the line. Instead, I asked how much the florist needed to keep the reservation. It was not a huge amount. That made it easier to make a bad decision. I paid the florist's deposit directly. I told myself I was buying time. I told myself I was protecting Evelyn and the other donors while Madison closed the campaign. I told myself one payment would prevent a larger mess. Madison stopped crying almost at once. "Thank you, Mom. I knew you would understand." The words landed wrong. She did not sound relieved that a problem was solved. She sounded confirmed. I made her agree to 3 things. She would remove my name from every vendor form. She would stop using the bookstore logo. She would send me a list of every person who had donated. She agreed to all of it. Then she asked whether I wanted to come to the cake tasting on Saturday. I did not go to the tasting. I stayed at Juniper and asked Elise to help me check our customer system. Elise had managed store operations for 6 years. She knew every account and password better than I did. When I showed her the sponsor form, she did not waste time being shocked. She opened the event platform and pulled the access history. An old user account had logged in from Madison's apartment. The account was created during her college summers. It should have been disabled years earlier. The login had exported our customer email list. It had also downloaded addresses from private book clubs and school orders. Elise looked sick. This is more than friends. I knew the gold card had made it feel personal. The export made it a business breach. We disabled every old account. We changed passwords. We required new verification for staff. Then we searched the system for messages sent from outside our normal campaigns. There were 3. The first message announced Madison's engagement and called Juniper the heart of her childhood. The second shared the donation page. The third said the campaign was close to its goal and asked readers to forward the link. Each email came from an address designed to resemble our store newsletter. The sender name said Rachel at Juniper. Anyone scanning quickly would assume I had written it. I found my own phrases inside the messages. Madison had copied lines from old newsletters. She knew how I thanked customers. She knew how I signed my name. That hurt in a different way. She had not only borrowed my reputation. She had studied my voice and worn it. I drove to Madison's apartment that night. She opened the door wearing sweatpants and holding a folder of seating charts. Noah was working late. The living room looked like a wedding had exploded inside it. Ribbon samples covered the coffee table, place cards lined the windowsill, a box of gold donation cards sat beside the couch. I picked up the box. "You said the page was removed." "It is hidden." "That is not removed." Madison put down the seating chart. "I need you to stop reacting to every detail like it is a crime." I showed her the access log. The color left her face. She said she had only used the list because most customers knew her. She said Juniper had always been part of her life. She said people would not mind. "You did not ask them," I said. "They chose to donate. They believed I asked." "You would have asked if you were not so worried about looking proper." I asked for the campaign password. She refused. She said the account also contained messages from friends and wedding guests. I asked for the donor list. She said she would send it after she cleaned it up. I looked around the room. My logo was on the cards. My signature was on vendor forms. My customer list had been exported. She had turned our relationship into a business arrangement, then blamed me for reading the terms. I told her she had until Monday morning. By then, every vendor would receive a correction. Every donor would be offered a refund. The campaign would be closed, not hidden. "If you do that, we lose the venue. Then choose a venue you can afford." "You want me to get married in a conference room after everyone has seen the glass house. I want you to get married without stealing my name." She said she had built the whole wedding around the idea that I would help. Her friends expected something beautiful. Noah's family thought our side had more money. She had already told people Juniper was doing well. There it was. the fear beneath the performance. Madison did not only want a large wedding. She wanted proof that the years above a bookstore had led somewhere impressive. She wanted Noah's family to see abundance, not the soup dinners and late bills she remembered. I understood the shame. I did not excuse the lie. She told me about college friends whose parents paid for destination weddings. She told me about Noah's sister, who had married at a vineyard. She told me she was tired of pretending that small meant meaningful when sometimes small just meant you could not afford more. I listened. Then I asked why that embarrassment had become my debt. I offered a path back. She could keep the dress. I would still host the rehearsal dinner we had discussed. She and Noah could cancel the expensive upgrades and build a wedding around what they actually had. She said canceling would make her look dishonest. You are being dishonest. I mean to everyone. That sentence explained more than she intended. My opinion could be managed. The public image could not. I left with the box of gold cards. Madison did not try to stop me. At home, I placed one card on my kitchen table. The green bar was printed in the center. It could not move, yet it seemed to accuse me. Help Rachel keep her promise. I thought about every promise I had actually made. I promised Madison I would keep her safe. I promised to attend school plays. I promised to tell her the truth. I promised I would not disappear like her father. Somewhere along the way, she had translated those promises into a guarantee that I would prevent every painful consequence. The next morning, I called the campaign platform. I expected a simple conversation. It was not simple. The representative told me the organizer owned the page. Only the organizer could issue immediate refunds. I could file an impersonation report because my name, photograph, and business identity had been used without permission. The platform could freeze the remaining balance while it investigated. It could also stop new donations. It could not recover money already transferred to vendors without cooperation from the organizer. I sent the required documents. Then, I called each vendor named on the sponsor form. The florist had my payment, the photographer had a copy of the campaign page, the caterer had an email from Rachel at Juniper. The rental company had my typed name but no signature. The venue had the most complete packet. That packet described Juniper as the wedding's community sponsor. It promised a final payment 1 week before the ceremony. It also promised a sponsor recognition display during the reception. I asked the venue coordinator what that meant. She said Madison planned to thank the bookstore during dinner. A screen would show the campaign page and the names of major donors. Guests would be encouraged to shop at Juniper as a way of supporting the family business. My daughter had designed a public celebration of a lie. She intended to place me beneath that green bar and have a room applaud my generosity. On Sunday night, Madison sent me the donor list. It was incomplete. I knew because Evelyn's name was missing. I called her and asked why. She said some early donations had been used for deposits and were no longer shown in the active balance. I asked for the full transaction history. She told me I was being invasive. You sent my customers a story about my finances. They donated to me, not you. Then why is my face on the page? Because people trust you. She said it as if my trust were a family resource. In her mind, it was no different from borrowing my folding chairs. I told her the platform would freeze the account if she did not refund the money. The silence on the line lasted several seconds. Then Madison asked, "You reported me?" I reported the use of my identity. I am your daughter. That is not an answer. You could have called me first. I reminded her of every call. She said those were emotional conversations, not official notice. Again, she changed the name of the problem. My boundary did not count until a company enforced it. She hung up. An hour later, a new email reached dozens of customers. The subject line said, "One last chance to stand with Madison." This message did not pretend to come from me. It came from Madison herself. She wrote that a private family misunderstanding threatened the wedding. She said the campaign might close at midnight and ask supporters to donate before outside pressure stopped them. She did not name me. She did not need to. The green bar moved again. By morning, the platform had frozen the page. A gray notice covered the donation button. The collected total remained visible beneath it. Madison posted a screenshot on social media. Her caption said, "Sometimes the person who taught you to dream is the first person to punish you for dreaming too big." I sat at my kitchen table and read the words until Elise called. Elise came over with coffee. She spread the access logs, emails, and sponsor forms across my table. The gold card sat in the middle. "This is not a misunderstanding," she said. "A misunderstanding ends when the truth is explained." I knew that. Saying it aloud still hurt. We drafted a correction for customers. It was brief. It said a private wedding campaign had used Juniper's name and mailing data without authorization. It said the store had not requested donations. It offered direct help to anyone who wanted to seek a refund. I did not send it. I told Elise I would give Madison until noon. At 11:45, Evelyn walked into Juniper. She carried an envelope. Inside was another $200. "I saw Madison's post," she said. "I do not want this to come between you." I pushed the envelope back. "You already gave too much. It is not too much if it keeps peace." That sentence broke something open in me. Evelyn was trying to protect me from my own daughter with money she needed. I asked whether she believed I had promised to fund the wedding. She nodded slowly. "The email sounded like you," she said. I told her the truth. Not every detail, just enough. Evelyn sat in the chair beside the register and covered her mouth. She looked embarrassed, though she had done nothing wrong. "I thought I was helping you," she whispered. "I know." She asked whether Madison knew about her furnace. I said yes. Madison had helped carry space heaters into Evelyn's house the previous winter. The room went very still. That was the moment the conflict stopped being about a wedding I could not afford. It became about people Madison had chosen because their affection for us made them easy to pressure. At noon, I sent the correction. The message went to every address touched by the unauthorized campaign. It came from the real Juniper account. It used my own voice. I did not accuse Madison of a crime. I did not call her greedy. I stated what I had promised, what I had not authorized, and what the store would do next. Then I asked the campaign platform to keep the freeze in place. The green bar stopped moving. By late afternoon, the campaign platform confirmed my report. New donations were blocked. The balance still in the account would remain frozen. Madison would be asked to approve refunds for the rest. The representative also sent me the complete campaign record. Madison had written personal notes to selected donors. Each note mentioned something she knew about their relationship with me. To my book club leader, she wrote that I hated asking for help. To a former employee, she wrote that I had supported everyone else for years and finally deserved support in return. To Evelyn, she wrote that I was too proud to admit the wedding costs frightened me. She had built each request around the exact reason that person would trust me. Then, I found the matching promise. Madison had told major donors that Juniper would match every gift after the final sponsor papers were signed. The green bar did not represent only money already collected. It represented a public expectation that my store would double part of it. That explained why the venue wanted my signature. It also explained why Madison had not been satisfied with the deposits already paid. The whole plan depended on turning pressure into authorization at the final meeting. The deadline was 1 week before the wedding. That was Friday, 4 days away. I called Noah. He answered from his truck. "I need you to come to the store," I said. "Without Madison." He arrived after closing. His work boots left dry mud near the door. He noticed and tried to wipe it away with a paper towel. I locked the door and placed the gold card on the counter. Noah looked at it without surprise. "You knew about these?" I knew there were cards. Did you know what they said? No. I showed him the sponsor form. He recognized the venue packet. He said Madison had told him I signed an early version and would sign the final one at the walkthrough. I asked whether he had ever heard me promise $40,000. He rubbed both hands over his face. She said the amount came from you? It did not. He asked why I had paid the florist's deposit. I told him the truth. I had panicked. I wanted to stop the immediate damage without exposing Madison. He nodded slowly. She showed me that payment? Of course she had. To Noah, the deposit looked like proof that I had accepted the plan. To Madison, my rescue had become another piece of evidence. I asked what he had personally agreed to pay. He named a reasonable amount. Then he told me they had already spent most of it on the venue deposit and travel arrangements. What happens if I do not sign Friday? He took a long breath. We lose the sponsor discounts. We also have to reduce the final package or bring the balance ourselves. There was the truth beneath the flowers and glass roof. The wedding could still happen. It just could not happen in the form Madison had displayed to everyone. I should have asked you directly, he said. Yes, I thought it was between you and her. It was. She used that privacy. He did not defend himself. He also did not ask me to pay. Noah said he would talk to Madison. I told him the final decision about their wedding belonged to them. The use of my name did not. Before he left, he touched the gold card. Are you going to the walkthrough? I have not decided. You should. She thinks you will sign once everyone is in the room. I looked at him. Did she say that? He nodded. Her plan was not hidden anymore. It was a stage. The next evening, Madison came to my house. She did not knock softly. She rang the bell 3 times and walked in when I opened the door. You went to Noah. I told him the truth about a contract with his name on it. You made him think I am a liar. I did not make him think anything. I asked whether she had approved refunds. She ignored the question. My wedding is in 11 days, and the sponsor deadline is Friday. You know every detail when it helps you say no. I know the details because vendors keep calling my store. She sat down hard on my couch. For the first time, her anger looked mixed with fear. She said people were messaging her. Some wanted their money back. One bridesmaid had asked whether the wedding was still happening. Noah's mother had offered to host a smaller dinner at home. Madison spoke about each alternative like a public demotion. I sat across from her. Why is a smaller wedding worse than what you did? Because everyone will know. They already know. They know your version. She said I had created the expectation. I had always told her I would make sure she had opportunities I never had. I had told her I wanted her wedding to feel special. I had let her use Juniper for parties and school events. You taught me that this place was ours, she said. I looked around my living room, not the bookstore. Even here, she was claiming the store through memory. I taught you that you were welcome there. I did not teach you that welcome meant ownership. Madison's eyes filled. What am I supposed to do now? Approve the refunds, remove every false sponsor form, tell the vendors I did not sign, and lose everything? Lose the version you could not afford. She stood. That is easy for you to say. You already got your dream. I asked what dream she meant. The store. The community. Everyone thinking you are this generous, independent woman. You built a whole identity out of raising me alone. Her words hit a place I did not expect. She said Juniper customers treated our history like a sweet local story. She said I received admiration for every hard year while she had to be the grateful daughter at the end of it. I had never thought of her that way. I had never asked customers to praise me for raising her, yet I knew people had watched us grow up together. I knew they told Madison how lucky she was. That kind of praise can feel like a bill when you are the child inside it. For a moment, I saw the pressure she carried. Then she used that truth to reach for my signature again. If you sign Friday, all of this ends, she said. I will apologize after the wedding. I will pay the store back over time. There it was, peace now, accountability later. I had accepted that bargain in smaller forms for years. It never reached later. I told her no. Madison's face closed. Then do not come. To the walkthrough? To the wedding? The room went silent. She waited for me to panic. She knew which promise she was pressing now. I had sworn I would not disappear from her life. She was making attendance the price of surrender. I felt the old fear rise. It told me to save the day, keep the invitation, and repair the rest later. It told me a mother could survive debt more easily than missing her daughter's wedding. Then I pictured Evelyn's envelope. I hope you change your mind, I said, but I will not buy my place beside you. Madison grabbed her bag and left. I stood at the window until her car disappeared, then I cried. There was no calm lesson in that moment. There was only grief. I had spent 21 years proving I would stay, and my daughter had turned staying into something she could sell back to me. Elise came over after I called. She did not tell me I was strong. She brought soup and sat at the kitchen table while I said the same things in different ways. What if Madison never forgave me? What if the wedding happened without me? What if every boundary I had learned came 1 week too late? Elise listened. Then she asked one question. What happens if you sign? I knew the answer. The store would become responsible for money it had never budgeted. Customers would believe the campaign was legitimate. Madison would learn that a forged promise became real if the event was important enough. I would attend the wedding. I would also teach her that love could be forced. I cannot sign, I said. Then the rest is grief, not confusion. That sentence helped. Grief could be carried. Confusion kept asking for another deal. Noah told me he had contacted the venue coordinator, Tessa. He asked her to show me every document before Friday. Tessa agreed. An hour later, a thick email arrived. The packet contained the sponsor form, campaign screenshots, donor promises, and a schedule for the reception display. It also contained a page I had not seen. The page was titled Community Story. Madison had written a speech for me. In it, I thanked friends for helping me fulfill a promise made on the day she was born. I said Juniper existed because motherhood taught me to believe in impossible things. I ended by announcing the store's matching contribution. The speech had stage directions: pause for applause, invite Madison to the front, present sponsor check. My daughter had written my feelings, my promise, and my surrender. She had even planned where the room would clap. I printed that page. Then I placed the gold card on top of it. The green bar had returned to the center of the story, but now I understood its real purpose. It did not measure generosity. It measured how close Madison believed she was to making refusal impossible. I called Tessa. She had a careful, professional voice. She apologized for not verifying the sponsorship directly. I told her Madison had used a copied signature. Tessa said no final charge could be made without an in-person signature on Friday. That rule was the only reason the store had not already been billed. She asked whether I wanted the meeting canceled. No, I said. I want the record corrected with everyone present. That was the first decision I made without leaving Madison an escape through private wording. Tessa agreed to limit the meeting. Only Madison, Noah, Tessa, and I would attend. The venue's finance manager would join briefly by video if needed. I asked Tessa to keep the sponsor page on the presentation screen. I wanted the same image that had pressured donors to be visible when I answered it. There was the gold card. There was my original message offering the dress, rehearsal dinner, and food. There was the access log from Juniper. There was the false sponsor form. There was the campaign record with the matching claim. There was the speech Madison wrote for me. Each item answered one question. What had I promised? What had she used? What did she intend to make me accept? I also prepared one email. It went to every vendor and every affected customer. It stated that Juniper would not sponsor the wedding. It confirmed that my copied signature was unauthorized. It explained that Madison would need to approve refunds or make separate arrangements. I saved it as a draft, I did not send it. That email was not a threat. It was the action I would take if Madison refused to correct the record in the room. On Thursday night, I received a text from her. "I left your seat open. Please do not make me regret it." I replied, "I will be at the meeting tomorrow." She sent back a heart. Then I understood that she had never imagined another reason for me to come. Friday arrived cold and bright. The glass venue stood at the edge of a field west of town. From the parking lot, the mountains looked close enough to touch. I carried a canvas tote with the documents inside. The gold card rested on top. Tessa met me in the lobby. She wore a gray suit and held a tablet against her chest. Her expression told me Madison had already arrived. Noah stood near the fireplace with both hands in his pockets. He looked tired. Madison sat at the long planning table in a cream jacket, her hair smooth and perfect. For 1 second, I saw the bride before I saw the conflict. Madison looked up and smiled. The smile was hopeful, almost relieved. "You came?" I said I would. She moved toward me as if to hug me. Then she noticed the tote. The meeting room had a wall of windows and a large screen. On that screen was the campaign page. My face sat beneath Madison's engagement photograph. The green bar was close to the end. Tessa asked whether we were ready to begin. Madison answered before anyone else. "We are." She opened a folder and passed me a pen. The final sponsor agreement lay in front of me. It named Juniper Books as the funding partner. It confirmed the matching promise. It allowed the venue to charge the remaining balance to the business account listed below. The account line was blank. Madison had brought the lie as far as she could without my hand. Tessa began explaining the package. Madison interrupted with a small laugh. "We all know why we are here. Mom just needs to make it official." I set the pen down. "No." The word was quiet. It still changed the room. Madison's smile stayed in place. "No to this version. No to any version that makes Juniper your sponsor." She looked at Tessa. "Could we have a minute?" I said I wanted Tessa to stay. The false documents had reached her business. The correction would happen in the same room. Madison folded her hands. "Fine, then let's be practical." She slid another page toward me. This one reduced the amount. It removed the string quartet and some rental upgrades. Juniper would still cover the final gap. "I made cuts," she said. "You said the size was the problem." "The size is not the main problem. What is the main problem today? You used my name until saying no became expensive." Her jaw tightened. Noah took a chair across from her. Tessa remained at the end of the table. Madison said the campaign had raised most of the money. She said the store would only need to match part of it. She said the publicity could benefit Juniper. She had an answer for every business concern. I listened until she ran out of advantages. Then I placed my original message on the table. It was the text I sent after the engagement party. It promised the dress, a rehearsal dinner, and help with food. This is what I offered. Madison barely looked at it. Plans changed. Your plans changed. Families adjust. I placed the access log beside the message. This shows the customer list you exported after I told you no. She glanced at Tessa. That was an old account. I thought I still had permission. I placed the false sponsor form beside the log. This carries a copy of my signature. It was not submitted for payment. It was submitted as proof. It was a draft. I placed the campaign record beside it. The matching promise was highlighted. This told donors my store would double their gifts. Madison leaned back. I intended to discuss the match with you. After you announced it, I knew you would care about the people involved. She said it without embarrassment. That was the hidden engine of the whole plan. She had chosen my customers because she knew I would feel responsible for their losses. She had made the lie wider so my conscience would have less room. I placed the written speech on top of the stack. Noah recognized it. "What is that?" Madison answered too quickly. "A possible thank you." I turned the page toward him. He read the stage directions. His face changed when he reached the sponsor check. "You wrote a speech for Rachel?" It was a draft. Did she know about it? Madison looked at me. She knows now. Tessa lowered her tablet. The professional distance in her face was gone. Madison saw it and became sharper. Can everyone stop acting like I planned a bank robbery? People donated because they love us. The wedding is still happening. My mother can afford to help. I asked how she knew what Juniper could afford. You own a business. A business is not a jar of spare money. You had a good year. I replaced a heating system. I carry payroll. I pay suppliers before I pay myself. Madison waved one hand. This is what you do. You make everything sound impossible until everyone feels guilty for asking. The accusation was familiar. She had used it when I refused to cover rent after she quit her job. She had used it when I would not replace a phone she broke. I had always answered with explanations, more numbers, more proof that my no was reasonable. This time, I did not defend the size of my bank account. Even if I had the money sitting in cash, you had no right to promise it. Madison's eyes flashed. I am your only child. That is true. You built your whole life around me. That was my choice. You told everyone you would always show up. I am here, not the way I need you. There it was, the sentence beneath every other sentence. Madison did not believe my presence counted if it did not remove the consequence. Love had become invisible unless it paid. She pointed to the screen. Look at that bar. Those people believed in us. They believed in you. If you walk away now, you are not only hurting me. I looked at my own photograph beneath the green line. You used their belief to corner me. I gave them a chance to be part of something. You told Evelyn I was too proud to ask for help. You knew she needed a furnace. Madison's face shifted. She chose the amount. She chose it based on a lie. You refunded her. I returned the envelope she brought after your last appeal. Her first donation is still tied up in this campaign. Madison looked toward Noah. Why are we talking about one donor when the wedding is next week? Because Evelyn was not one donor. She was the point. I told Madison that every person on the list had trusted a relationship. She had converted that trust into pressure. The size of each gift did not change what she had done. Madison pushed her chair back. Do you want me to beg? No. Do you want me to say I am a terrible daughter? No. Then what do you want? The truth corrected. The donations returned, my business removed. And after that, you choose a wedding you can pay for. Her laugh was short and bitter. So you do want to punish me. I want the cost to stay with the person who created it. Madison stood and walked to the windows. The field outside was empty. White chairs had not yet been arranged, but their marks were visible in the grass from another event. When she turned back, she was crying. I wanted one day when nobody could look at us and see what we did not have. The anger in me loosened, but the boundary did not. I told her I remembered the stockroom dinners. I remembered saying no to field trips until the last minute. I remembered how carefully she studied other families. I am sorry you carried shame, I said. I am sorry I hid so much struggle that you learned appearances mattered more than honesty. Madison wiped her face. For a moment, I thought she might sit down and approve the refunds. Then she looked at the sponsor agreement. You can fix this first, she said. We can deal with the rest after. The old bargain. Again, Noah spoke for the first time in several minutes. Madison, there cannot be an after if we start our marriage with this. She turned on him. You wanted this venue too. I wanted it because you said it was covered. You liked every plan. I did. I also believed your mother agreed. Madison stared at him. So now you are on her side. This is not a side. It always becomes a side when she says no. I knew that sentence came from years of resentment. I also knew Noah could not solve it. I reached into the tote and took out one final page. It was not evidence. It was a choice. The page listed 3 actions in plain language. Madison would authorize all available refunds. She would notify the vendors that Juniper had never sponsored the wedding. She would send a correction to the people she contacted. If she did those things, I would not send the broader vendor notice. I would still attend the wedding if she wanted me there. My original gifts would remain gifts. If she refused, I would send the correction myself. I would withdraw every financial offer still open. Juniper would have no role in the event. Madison read the page. You made me an ultimatum. I made the consequences visible. You are giving me 5 minutes to destroy my wedding. I gave you weeks to correct this privately. She picked up the gold card. Her thumb covered my face. You know what is cruel, she said. You made me believe I could count on you. You made everyone believe it. Now you want to be admired for having boundaries. The words were meant to shame me back into the role she understood. I felt their weight, then I let it stay on the table. I promised to stand beside you, I said. I never promised to let you stand on my name. Nobody spoke. The sentence did not feel clever when I said it. It felt sad. Madison looked at the page again. If you send that email, people will never see me the same way. They should see the correction before they decide. You are my mother. You are supposed to protect me from that. I protected you from consequences so often that you stopped seeing other people as real. I cannot keep doing it. Her face hardened. Then leave. I did not move. She pointed toward the door. You heard me. I came to correct the record. You came to ruin me? No, I came to stop helping you ruin yourself. Madison tore the choice page in half. The sound was small. It was also an answer. I took out my phone. Her eyes dropped to the screen. What are you doing? Sending the correction. Rachel, Tessa said softly, not to stop me, but to confirm the moment. I opened the draft. Every affected customer and vendor was listed. The message stated the facts. It included the refund instructions. It withdrew Juniper from the sponsor package. Madison moved around the table. Mom, wait. I pressed send. The message left my phone. A second later, Tessa's tablet chimed. Then Noah's phone did. The venue finance manager had been copied. Madison stopped beside me. The power in the room changed without anyone raising a voice. Tessa opened the email. She read it once, then removed the sponsor agreement from the table. Juniper Books is no longer attached to this event, she said. Madison looked at her. You cannot change the package in the middle of a meeting. The package depended on a sponsor who did not authorize it. We already paid deposits. Those deposits remain applied. The unpaid upgrades do not. Tessa tapped her tablet. The reception display vanished from the screen. My photograph disappeared. The green bar disappeared. The venue logo replaced both. I had expected relief. What I felt first was emptiness. For months, that bar had grown by feeding on my silence. Now the screen was plain. Noah asked Tessa what options remained. She explained them in simple terms. They could keep the date with fewer guests and a basic meal. They could postpone and move part of the deposit, or they could cancel and lose the amount the contract allowed. Madison stood very still. This was supposed to be my wedding, she said. It still can be, Noah replied. It just cannot be Rachel's debt. She looked at him as if he had betrayed her. Then she looked at me. Are you proud of yourself? No. That answer surprised her. I was not proud. I was heartbroken. I was also finished confusing heartbreak with a reason to surrender. Tessa asked me to sign a short statement confirming that the copied signature was unauthorized. I read it, then I signed my real name. That signature did not promise money. It ended the promise Madison had invented. The venue finance manager joined by video. Tessa showed him the statement. He confirmed that no charge would be made to Juniper. The result was immediate. The business account line was deleted. The sponsor discount disappeared. The final balance changed on Tessa's screen. Madison saw the new figure and sat down. Noah moved his chair closer, but she pulled away. I placed the gold card in front of her. This is what brought me here, I said. Not the cost of your wedding. This. She stared at the printed green bar. I told her the card had made Evelyn believe my reputation was in danger. It had made customers think helping Madison was the same as helping me. It had turned love into leverage. Madison did not answer. I picked up my tote. The documents stayed with Tessa as part of the corrected venue record. The gold card stayed on the table. At the door, Madison spoke. "If you leave now, do not come next week." I turned back. "I will respect whatever invitation you choose. I will not purchase one." Then I left. The glass doors closed behind me. Outside, the cold air hurt my lungs. I stood beside my car and cried until I could see clearly enough to drive. That evening, the campaign page changed. The green bar was gone. A gray notice said the campaign had closed because the named sponsor had not authorized it. Refunds would begin from the frozen balance. Money already used for deposits still had to be restored. Madison could not make that part disappear with a caption. She and Noah chose to postpone the wedding. They canceled the string quartet, the premium rentals, and the large floral package. Refundable amounts went back to donors. Madison sold unused decorations and arranged payments for the rest. Noah did not leave her. He also did not protect her from the repair. He moved back to his apartment and told her they would not set a new date until every donor received the truth. For almost a month, Madison did not speak to me. I did not chase her. That was harder than any email I sent. Juniper recovered. A few customers were upset that our data had been exposed. They had every right to be. We paid for stronger security and gave people a clear way to leave the mailing list. Evelyn received her money back. She replaced her furnace before the first snow. Then, one Tuesday morning, Madison came into the store. She looked tired. She carried no coffee and no folder. She waited until I finished helping a customer. "I sent the correction," she said. I had already seen it. The message was not graceful. It did not call the campaign a misunderstanding. It said she had used my name without permission. It said donors had been led to believe Juniper approved the collection. It apologized without asking anyone to excuse her. I told her the message was honest. She nodded. "Noah made me rewrite it twice." "Did you mean it?" "More the third time." That was not a perfect answer. It was real. Madison said she had started meeting with a counselor. She said she kept hearing my sentence about other people being real. She hated it because it was true. Then she asked whether I still loved her. I did not make her earn that answer. "Yes," she cried. So did I. Love returned before trust. Access did not. Madison never regained a login to Juniper. We kept financial conversations in writing. I stopped paying to prevent her discomfort. She stopped calling every limit abandonment, though it took time. 5 months later, she and Noah married in a public garden near the library. There were 40 guests, folding chairs, and lunch from a family restaurant. Madison wore the satin dress I had bought before the lies began. Noah wore the same stunned smile he had worn at their engagement. I sat in the front row because Madison invited me. No sponsor speech was planned. No screen stood behind the flowers. Nobody asked the guests for money. After the ceremony, Madison handed me a plain envelope. Inside was a photograph from the first engagement party. On the back, she had written, "Thank you for coming as my mother." That was enough. I still keep one gold card in the locked drawer beneath the register. I do not keep it to punish her. I keep it because the green bar taught me something I should have learned earlier. A promise to love someone is not a promise to finance every choice. Showing up does not mean signing your name beneath a lie. The campaign page is gray now. Every donation was returned. Juniper is still mine, and Madison is still my daughter. Both truths fit in the same life. Would you have sent the correction sooner or given her one last chance? Whatever your answer, remember that a boundary does not cancel love. Sometimes it is the first honest shape love takes.